What else did he tell you?
I, at that point, was looking, was saying I'm going to have to get, Nicole and I are going to have to go to some therapy, and he made a suggestion for a person.
Who?
Bert Catay.
And you went to Bert, right?
That's correct.
Did he suggest anything else to you?
No.
Now, you heard some testimony in court about the police being out to your house 7 or 8 times in the course of your relationship with Nicole.
One more time.
Where'd you leave off?
Just for question again, you made some testimony?
You heard some testimony in court about the police coming out to your house for domestic violence incidents about 7 or 8 times. You hear that testimony?
I heard that. I don't know if it was in court, but I certainly heard that accusation, yes.
Is that true?
Totally false.
Okay. How many times the police come out as a result of incidents involving Nicole and you?
Will you tell me what incidents? What do you mean by incidents?
As a result of any disagreement, conflict, fight, whatever, between Nicole and you?
Counting 89, 2 other times.
Once when?
Once in 1993 when we were having an argument at our house on Gretna Green.
And the other time?
Other guy, I'm not sure because I know we didn't call the police, but I'm told now it was Mark Furman showed up at our house.
You mean just showed up?
Yes.
Nobody called him?
Didn't call the police, no.
How did he get there?
I'm assuming Westat called him.
That was a result of a fight that you and Nicole were having?
An argument that we were having. I don't even, yeah, an argument we were having.
Who called Westak?
Nicole.
Okay. Any other times police come out?
Never any other time, at any other time, ever.
Were you arrested in 1985 when the police came out?
For what?
For anything?
No.
Were you arrested in 1993 when they came out?
Well, you said 1985 when the police came
Yeah, I don't believe it was
There's
1985
There's
either.
no
Yes.
incident there's no
You
foundation.
just mentioned something about Mr. Furman.
Yeah, but it wasn't 1985,
What
I
was
know
the
that.
year?
I don't know, but I know it wasn't 1985.
How do you know that?
Because they said it was in the fall, and I recall it being in the fall, and in the fall Nicole was pregnant, and after she was pregnant, she was laid up in bed.
You got to try to keep up, David.
Because they said...
Because
Just slow down.
because Nicole was pregnant in the fall of 1985. It was the first year we were married. We never had any arguments that year. After she had the baby, she had C-section, so she wouldn't have been out, couldn't get her for the next 2 years to go out having drinks with friends. And this incident had taken place after she had returned home from having drinks with friends. So it certainly, and Nicole certainly was not the fall of 1985.
Well, based on what you just said, can you fix the time for us?
I believe it was 1984.
In the fall?
Yes.
Okay. Did the police arrest you when they came out in the fall of 1984?
There was no reason for them to be there. I think they testified to that
The
in
answer to
court.
that is yes or no?
No.
And did they arrest you in 1993?
No.
Okay.
Should we take a lunch break since it's noon?
Yeah.
This is the end of case number 1 of volume 4. Time approximately 12:03, and you're about to rest.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Simpson.
Good afternoon.
Johnny Cochran was one of your lawyers in the criminal case, correct?
Yes.
And you were there throughout the trial, correct?
Correct.
Including the opening statement made by Mr. Cochran, correct?
Correct.
Let me just tell you that you are not going to examine Mr. Simpson on any comments made by Johnny Cochran.
Let me ask you, let me read something that Mr. Cochran said and ask you a few questions about it. With regard to Rockingham, Mr. Simpson's residence again, I expect there will be testimony that Mr. Simpson did in fact cut his finger at some place where I'm pointing now, near the end of his middle finger. And he so told the police that evening, January 13, and that he went out, he did it either as he was about to leave or when he went out to the Bronco to get his cellular phone. My question to you was that statement true?
Don't answer that. He's not going to be interrogated on what Mr. Cochran said at the trial unless you get a court order. That is not
What-
evidence in any case, and that is not a proper examination, in my opinion.
I'm not asking him for this purpose, Mr. Baker, that on the theory that Mr. Cochran's statement is an admission, although I may take that position later on. I'm simply asking him about the statement, his knowledge about the statement.
You have examined him, Mr. Petrocell, on all of that. You know exactly what his testimony is, and we're not going to go into that. Not without a court order.
Did you tell that to Mr. Cochran?
No, don't answer that either.
Same objections?
Well, it's the same objection, plus it's obviously attorney-client privilege.
Well, not if Mr. Cochran said it.
What? Pardon me?
Mr. Cochran said this to the jury.
I understand that.
And if you got that information from Mr. Simpson, how can it be protected by the attorney-client privilege?
Because he doesn't have to tell you anything he told Mr. Cochran, and that would obviously, well, I'm not going to go into any further except to say that he does not have to divulge any of that, regardless of where Mr. Cochran got that. That does not waive his attorney-client privilege, in my opinion. But I've
You'll
made
instruct him, right?
I will
Okay.
instruct him, and we both know our positions on this issue.
Okay. Well, just a few more questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you know of any person other than yourself who knew that you cut your middle finger on June 12th?
Other than what he has testified here today about his conversations with Van Adder, with Lang, with...
No, I'm asking a different question, Mr. Pickharper. I'm asking whether you, Mr. Simpson, know of any person or source who could have, other than yourself, because your attorney has barred me about asking about your questions, your conversations with Mr. Cochran. So any person or source other than yourself who would know that you, in fact, cut your finger on June 12, 1994.
You can answer that, O.J., although you've interrogated him at length.
But this is
relative to-
different, Mr. Baker.
You
It's
can
also
call
a
it
different. It's also a different finger. You can answer.
I'm sorry, you'd have to...
Do you know of any person or source who would know that you, in fact, cut your middle finger on June 12, 1994?
Cut my middle finger?
Correct.
On the left hand.
On the left hand.
Would know in fact, which means they saw it?
Correct.
On
Wait a
June
minute.
12th, saw it? No, I don't know anyone who would have saw that on June 12th, no.
Do you know of any person other than yourself who would know that you cut any of your fingers on June 12, 1994?
Meaning that they would have saw it.
Or you told them?
He cut his middle finger on June 12th.
Oh.
I mean, so
That's
you
what
say
Mr.
other than yourself. I mean, but I
That's
don't
what
care
Mr. Cochran
I don't
said.
care what Mr. Cochran said.
Well,
Mr. Cochran wasn't under oath, and that's not evidence in the case.
Well, I
Ask Mr.
disagree.
Cochran
I
about it.
disagree with that.
You
But
think that's evidence? You think opening statement's
think
evidence in
when-
the case?
I think it's an authorized admission.
Oh,
But put that aside, Mr. Baker.
in a criminal case?
The question was not directed to the middle finger. It was directed to any finger in any event.
No, it was directed to his
No,
left middle finger on the 12th.
You want to read the last question back?
Now, read the question before that.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Both questions. You said middle finger on both times.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Question, do you know of any person other than yourself who would know that you cut any of your fingers on June 12, 1994?
Okay, read one before that.
But that's the one that I want the answer to. He already answered the prior question.
Read the prior question back. I want to hear it.
Let's play it back for Mr. Baker.
Question, do you know of any person or source who would know that you in fact cut your middle finger on June 12, 1994? Answer, cut my middle finger. Question, correct. Mr. Baker, on the left hand. Mr. Petrocell, on the left hand. The witness would know in fact, which means they saw it? Question, correct. Mr. Baker, wait a minute. The witness on June 12 saw it? No, I don't know anyone who would ever saw that on June 12, no.
Now read the next question.
Question, do you know of any person other than yourself who would know that you cut any of your fingers on June 12, 1994?
You can answer that.
When you know as a fact by seeing it.
Seeing it? Correct.
Seeing it, no.
Or you're telling them?
Well, I don't know if I'm getting into attorney-client here.
Well, you didn't tell anybody on June 12, 1994
On June 12th, I didn't tell anybody anything. No.
that you cut your finger, did you?
I didn't tell anybody on June 12th anything.
And did you in fact cut your finger on June 12th?
I don't know. I saw blood on one of my fingers and on my counter on June 12th, and I saw blood.
Do you know where Mr. Cochran got the information that you in fact cut your finger on June 12th?
Don't answer that.
Do you know where Mr. Cochran got the information? Well, I only asked him, by the way, if he knew of where the source was.
I followed your question very carefully.
Okay.
And,
You still instructed?
I'm still.
Okay. Do you know where Mr. Cochran got the information that you, in fact, cut your finger, either as you were about to leave or when you went out to the Bronco to get your cellular phone?
Don't answer that.
Do you know anybody other than yourself who would have known on the evening of June 12 that you cut your finger either when you went to leave or when you went out to the Bronco to get your phone?
He's already answered you about his cuts on June 12th, and don't answer that. It's asked and answered multiple times.
Do you know anyone other than yourself who would know that you cut your finger as you were about to leave or when you went out to the Bronco to get the phone?
Same instruction and same objection.
The question here, Mr. Baker, is directed to the latter part about how the cut occurred.
And you have gone into that in excruciating detail very, very well, and that's all been asked and answered, and I'm not going to allow him to answer that.
After Mr. Cochran said this to the jury, did you inform him that his statement was false?
Don't answer that again.
Mr. Simpson, was there an incident in which you beat Nicole in San Francisco?
No.
Did you beat her in 1977, to be specific, in San Francisco?
No.
Okay. Do you recall an incident when Nicole found an earring in her apartment bed in San Francisco,
No.
where she accused you of sleeping with someone named Terry,
No.
where you threw a fit,
No.
where you chased her,
No.
grabbed her,
No.
threw her into the walls,
No.
threw all of her clothes out the window into the street,
No.
and bruised her?
No.
You don't recall any of that?
No.
Or you're positive it did not occur?
Yes.
And see if I could jog your recollection. Mr. Cowlings came by and he tried to calm you down.
No.
You're positive that didn't happen?
Positive.
Okay. Do you recall an incident? Oh, first of all, did Nicole have an apartment in San Francisco?
No.
Did you?
Yes.
And do you recall whether that incident that I just described occurred in your apartment?
It didn't occur?
Didn't occur wherever, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you or Nicole ever have a place on Ashton Street?
I believe Nicole did.
Okay. Did you have a physical confrontation with her on Ashton Street
No.
at a time when you were wearing a cast on your leg?
No.
Did you yell and scream and swear and call her fucking bitch and motherfucker?
No.
And was she crying and wailing?
No.
You don't recall any of that?
I don't recall ever in my life having a cast on my leg.
Okay. What about when you threw her, do you recall throwing her against the floor or the wall,
No.
hitting her in the face,
Never
and
happened.
giving her black eyes?
No.
You know who Connie Good is?
No.
Okay. Do you recall an event in New York when you and Nicole went to a friend's anniversary party and you and Nicole got into a fight?
No.
Where you got upset with Nicole because she was talking to a man in a bar? This is in New York now.
No.
Nicole, you dragged Nicole out of the bar and slapped her around.
No.
That did not occur?
Did not occur.
And did you hit her on the street corner?
No.
You were approached by a person who wanted to help and you said, stay out, it's a family matter.
No.
Okay. Did you, in New York, call Nicole's mother a whore
No.
or beat Nicole during intercourse?
No.
Do you know who Betsy Rocket is?
Yes.
Who is she?
Friend of Nicole's.
How long did she know Nicole?
I don't know.
Are you aware that Nicole wrote such incidents down in her own handwriting?
During our divorce, yes.
How did you become aware of that, Mr. Simpson?
She told me.
She told you that she had wrote these incidents down?
Yes. I don't know about those specific incidents, but
Yeah,
she
these
told
two
me.
that I mentioned.
Not those specifically, no.
Did she mention these to you?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Did she show you the things that she wrote down?
No.
Did you ask to see them?
No.
Did you ask her? This is in your way.
Is there a pending question?
Is there a pending question?
A portion of it pending question, did you ask her?
Yeah, did you ask her for the details of any of the incidents that she wrote up?
No.
Did she actually tell you that she made them up?
Yes.
All of them?
Well, I don't know about all of them. I don't know what all of them were at the time.
Did she tell you how she went about making them up?
I don't know if, the question, I don't know if I can answer that specifically.
Well, what I'm trying to find out is whether she explained to you how she invented these stories.
How she invented them?
Yeah.
No, just why they did them.
You've already said that, right?
I believe so, yes.
And that was to trump up a charge against you to get out of the prenuptial agreement?
Those weren't my words, I don't think.
That was the gist of it?
Yeah, the gist was to try to get me to tear up my prenuptial agreement.
What did your prenuptial agreement have to do with these incidents?
I guess they wanted more money out of my divorce.
And how would manufacturing incidents help in the divorce?
Well, my lawyers didn't think it would happen at all, but I guess they were trying to attack my prenuptial based on abuse or something, or thought I'd be, I don't know what they thought. Maybe they thought they could blackmail me into tearing up my prenuptial agreement.
Are you referring to an agreement that you had with Nicole following the 1989 incident, in which you said that if you ever willfully, physically inflicted injury on her again, that you would tear up your prenuptial agreement?
No.
Or what are you referring to?
A prenuptial agreement that we signed when we got married.
What year?
1985.
That's when you got married, right?
Yes.
And you and Nicole had a prenuptial agreement before the marriage?
Yes.
She was represented by a lawyer?
Yes.
And you were also?
Yes.
Okay. Who was her lawyer?
I don't know.
And who was yours?
I think it was Clemens.
Bruce Clemens?
Yes, I believe so.
And who was yours?
I think Goldberg.
And Nicole told you that the lawyers told her that if they came up with incidents of abuse, they could somehow get out of the prenuptial agreement?
That wasn't her exact words, no.
But to that effect?
Yes.
And if they got out of the prenuptial agreement, then she would get more money from you?
Yes.
Okay.
But those weren't exactly how she said it to me or her words, no.
Do you remember how exactly she said it?
Yes.
Tell me.
She said that this is after she had made her mind she wouldn't do it. She said they were trying to get her to say all kind of things. And she wouldn't do it. And they even had a psychologist that they tried to make her go to make her hate me, quote unquote, hate me. And that she was sick of it all.
Who was a psychologist?
Susan Ford.
Did Nicole go to her?
I don't know, but in the things that I've read since I was in jail, yes.
Did Nicole tell you that she actually went to this psychologist and said, told her stories that were not true about abuse?
No, she told me that. She said that this lady was this lady was crazy. I believe she even wrote it down, and I believe it's in Discovery, that this woman is crazy. She's trying, her words to me, she's trying to make me hate you. And I'm not going to go to her anymore.
Did Nicole tell you that she had in fact seen this psychologist at least once?
I didn't say if she said at least once. She just said that they had her going to this psychologist who was crazy.
And did she tell you that she had told this psychologist fabricated stories about abuse?
I don't think she got into that about the psychologist. She
Okay.
was just telling me in general that that's what they were trying to get her to do, and she wouldn't testify to it.
Did Nicole tell you, withdrawn, Mr. Simpson, when did you first find out from Nicole that she was involved in inventing these stories of abuse?
Around, I believe it was May or June, middle of May or June of '92.
Now, she filed for divorce in January or February? Remember the month?
I believe February, end of January, early February.
1992, right?
Yes.
And the divorce was over in October of 1992,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And she said she didn't want to go through with it, and this was about May or June, right?
Go through it what?
With the stories of abuse.
Yes, yes.
And from that point on, do you know whether that effort by her to invent these stories was abandoned?
Yes, my lawyers never brought it up to me again.
Your lawyers had been bringing it up to you before then?
Yes.
And who were your lawyers?
Jerry Goldberg. Skip Taft.
Excuse me?
And Skip Taft,
And
live
Skip
right there.
Taft, yeah.
Yes.
But the divorce proceedings went on, right?
Yes.
And from that point on, did the subject of abuse ever come up in your divorce proceedings?
Not that I know of.
Now, you had, there was a trial that began, did it not?
Yes.
And it lasted, what, 1 or 2 days?
Well, I testified, and once again, she wouldn't testify to that, so she didn't show up one day.
And that was the end of the trial?
She came to my house, and we settled, and the trial was just about over.
Oh, this was about near the end of the trial, correct?
This was virtually the end of the trial, yes.
And how long had the trial lasted?
I don't know.
About a week or so?
I don't think so, but we were in and out of town, so I'm not really sure.
When you testified, Mr. Simpson, did you give any testimony about the subject of abuse?
If they asked me, yes.
And did they?
I'm pretty sure they did.
You mean you're a lawyer?
Please don't point at him.
Oh, I'm not pointing in an offensive manner. I'm just pointing my pen, Mr.
It's
Baker.
in the eyes of the beholder.
For the
Mr.
record.
Petrocell.
In any event, did both lawyers question you about abuse?
I don't recall.
Did they ask you whether you had ever engaged in physical abuse of Nicole?
At this moment, I don't recall, but I'm sure there's a record of it.
And what did you say
In what respect?
about whether you had engaged in acts of physical abuse?
Since I don't know what the exact questions were, or if there were questions at all about it, and I'm not clear at this point if there were, I can't tell you what my answers would have been.
Yeah. You had conversations with Nicole around this time that if she testified to such acts of abuse, it would damage your earning potential and damage her prospects for getting money as well, correct?
I personally had no contact, no conversation with Nicole about the divorce. I didn't want to talk about it. I said, let the lawyers deal with it.
Well, when she came to you and told you that she was inventing stories of abuse, you told her that if she went through with those stories, that would damage both of you financially, correct?
That's incorrect.
Did that subject come up at all?
No, when she told me, it was when she had already made up her mind not to do it.
You understood there's no fault divorce, at least at that time, correct?
I thought so, yes.
And do you understand how the issue of abuse was relevant to your divorce case?
You should ask her lawyer. I don't know.
Did you have any discussion with Nicole at any time after she filed for divorce about her not pursuing charges of abuse against you in the divorce case?
Not at all.
You never tried to discourage her from asserting such claims?
She can do whatever she wants to do.
You never tried to discourage her?
Exactly.
And never even discussed it?
Didn't discuss it.
What's it say? There did come a time in your marriage to Nicole that you and she entered into an agreement that if you ever willfully inflicted injury on her again, that the prenuptial agreement would be voided, correct?
That's correct.
And so in making that agreement, you agreed that you had inflicted physical injury on her in the past, correct?
Yes, and it wasn't an agreement. It was something I gave her. She didn't, she just accepted it. So it was just something I offered.
Yeah. And the reason you offered it is because you felt responsible for beating her, correct?
No, I felt responsible for her injuries and in 1989.
Well, you felt responsible for inflicting those injuries, correct?
For being responsible for those injuries,
Not
yes.
for inflicting them, right?
Not necessarily that, no.
Yeah. Did you ever abuse her after that agreement?
No,
Did she sign that agreement?
I believe so.
Did she sign it after you sent it to her?
She couldn't have signed it before I sent it to her.
Shortly after?
I don't know.
Did she wait a long time before signing it?
I don't know.
Did Nicole tell you whose idea it was to invent stories of abuse against you?
No.
Did you tell your lawyers what Nicole told you?
Oh, are you talking about him telling Jerry?
Whether Nicole, withdrawn, did you tell Jerry Goldberg or any other divorce lawyer of yours that Nicole told you she had been inventing stories of abuse against you?
Well, I don't think he has to tell you that. That's protected by the attorney-client privilege. So
Did
don't
you-
answer that,
okay.
Mr. Simpson.
Well, you instructed not to answer.
Yes.
Did you tell anyone other than your divorce lawyers that Nicole had been inventing stories of abuse against you in the divorce proceedings?
Any lawyers at all, OJ, and then you can answer the question.
I'm sorry.
Did you tell anybody other than your lawyers, whether they be divorce lawyers, your criminal lawyers, your civil lawyers, any lawyers that you've had?
Well-
Did you tell anybody else? You can answer that question.
That wasn't my question.
I understand that, but we're not going to get into whether he told
Skip
myself.
Taft? Let me make it clear.
All right.
At or about the time that Nicole told you that she was inventing stories of abuse against you, did you tell anybody other than your divorce lawyers?
Not that I can recall.
And prior to Nicole's murder, did you tell anybody other than your divorce lawyers that she had invented stories of abuse against you?
Well, and you can exclude any other lawyers that you told who were representing you at the time. You can't ask him if he told other lawyers. You can ask him, but he isn't required to answer.
I excluded all of you folks and Mr. Cochran and so forth.
I understand that, but you haven't excluded Skip Taft, who's a lawyer who's represented him for 25 years, and he's entitled to the same attorney-client protection as any other citizen.
I don't believe that's protected information, merely conveying that kind of fact to a lawyer. But put that aside, and you've instructed him not to answer, so I'll change my question. Other than lawyers, other than your lawyers, prior to Nicole's murder, did you tell anyone that Nicole was inventing stories of abuse against you?
I'm sorry, what the first part of that question, I was spaced out.
Okay. I'm focusing on a time period before Nicole's murder. Okay. Did you ever tell anyone other than your lawyers that Nicole had invented stories of abuse against you?
I can't recall. I can't recall. It seems that I've had the conversation, but I just, at this time, can't recall with who.
Can't recall a single person that you said that to other than lawyers. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did Nicole tell you whose idea it was to invent these charges?
I was asking answered, but you can answer it again.
No, when she told me that she wasn't going to do this. I think her words were always they.
Meaning the divorce lawyers?
That's who I assumed she was talking about.
When she said she wasn't going to do this, did she tell you that she had gone so far as to write all these incidents down?
No.
Did you ever discuss that Nicole had made up these stories with the Browns? Louis or Judita or Denise or any member of the Brown family?
I may have, yes.
With whom?
Would have been, it would have been Judy. And I don't know if it was concerning this or at another time, but I'm sure I had a conversation about one incident, at least with Denise.
Relate that conversation that you had with Judy.
I don't know. I know Judy and I talked about just about everything then, so I can't relate the conversation, any specific conversation, but I'm pretty sure that I brought it up with Judy.
The fact that Nicole had been making up these stories?
Not that she'd been making up these stories, that what the lawyers were intimating to me, because I didn't know what was going on. My lawyers informed me, I didn't inform my lawyers.
Well, you don't have to talk about what your lawyers informed you, Jerry.
Yeah.
I'm just asking what you and Judy Brown discussed. And
We
whether you
discussed
told
just
her.
about everything that was going on at the time.
Did you tell her what Nicole had told you about
After
making
Nicole
up
told me?
stories?
After? I'm not sure.
Now, I told you about the story concerning physical confrontation in New York, and you said none of it was true. Is it true that you don't even remember having an argument with her at this anniversary party in New York because she was talking to a man in a bar?
I don't ever recall having an argument with Nicole for talking to a man, period. I mean, an argument with it, no.
Did you recall an incident where you beat and kicked Nicole and put her in a wine closet?
Never happened.
Never happened?
Never happened.
You bruised her leg on that occasion? Do you recall that?
Never happened.
Do you recall any argument where Nicole went to a wine closet to get away from you?
No.
Do you have a wine closet?
Now I do.
Did you?
I think you could call it a wine closet now, but before then, I don't think so.
When did you get the wine closet?
I don't know, in the 90s sometime.
Do you recall an incident when Wayne Hughes, your friend, spoke to you about your hitting Nicole?
No.
Do you recall any conversation with Wayne Hughes about your hitting Nicole?
No.
Do you know whether Nicole ever went to talk to Wayne Hughes about being hit?
No.
And whether Wayne observed an injury in the form of a red spot on Nicole?
No.
You don't know anything about that?
No.
And if Nicole wrote that down, that's not true?
I don't know what she did with Wayne Hughes, so I can't tell you if it's true or not.
But it's not true that you hit her and caused a red spot, correct?
Correct.
Did you and Nicole ever go to a track meet in San Jose?
The only thing I have to say about that is why.
I don't know. I can't recall.
Okay, did you ever Did you get into an argument with her at a track meet or leaving a track meet where you forced her to get out of the car
No,
and left her stranded?
no.
And if Nicole wrote that in some notes, then that's not true, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall an argument with Nicole at a restaurant called La Cantina in 1982,
No,
where Denise Brown was also present?
no.
And you recall following that dinner at La Cantina, you went home and started throwing Nicole's clothes from her closets?
No, not at all.
Smashed framed photos of the Brown family members
No,
and threw Nicole against the wall?
no.
So that's not true.
Not true, no.
Do you recall an incident at Rockingham in 1984 and 1985 where you smashed 20 to 30 or so framed photographs of the Brown family?
No,
Is there anything similar to that occurred?
no,
Where Nicole was crying outside of the house because you were smashing photographs of members of her family?
no.
No such event occurred?
Never happened.
So if anybody said they saw that, then they would be lying, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What are you writing down there?
None of your
Bring a note
business.
to his counsel.
Excuse me? Well, you don't know that,
Writing
Mr. Baker. He could be writing down the name of a witness. Who knows? I'm just asking. What is that, Mr. Simpson?
Something from my lawyer.
You don't want to share it with us?
No.
Do you recall an incident in around Rockingham in 1986 when you hit Nicole, tore her sweater and slacks completely off?
Why don't you frame
No.
your questions? Did an incident occur instead of making it a fait accompli, especially in light of his past answers?
Did such an event occur?
Never.
Wasn't there an event when you took Nicole to a doctor, Dr. Martin Alpert, and told the doctor that she suffered an injury as a result of a bicycle accident?
I may have taken to a doctor, but I think she told the doctor that.
Was that true?
I wasn't there when it happened. That's what she told me. And I took her to the doctor, and that's what she told the doctor.
Do you remember the injuries that Nicole had on that occasion?
Well, I don't think there was anything to see, but she told me she had a headache, so I thought she should see a doctor.
X-rays were taken of her head,
Yes.
and did you notice any wounds or bruises or anything on her when you took her to the doctor?
No.
And what did she tell you about how that injury occurred?
She told me she was getting off the bike and trying to get Sydney out of the back seat, the back thing that she was carrying, and evidently she fell back.
She fell back?
Yeah.
And you were not there at the time?
No.
And was it Dr. Alpert?
I don't know.
But you didn't hit her on that occasion?
No.
You ever go to Victoria Beach with Nicole?
Yes.
Yeah, that's near Laguna Beach?
Yes.
Okay. Did you, was there an incident where you hit her on the beach
No, never.
and she fell to the ground and cried?
No, never.
Did you have an argument with her on the beach in Victoria Beach where she cried?
No.
Now, if such a person saw that, he would not be telling the truth. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Who is such a person? Any person saw that?
Anybody. Okay. Did you ever call Nicole abusive names when she was pregnant?
No.
Like you are a fat pig?
No.
Never said those things? to her?
Absolutely not.
Do you have a memory of what you do when you drink excessively?
I don't think I really drink excessively too often, but yes, I don't ever recall blacking out, no.
when you, in the course of your relationship with Nicole, were you ever with her when you were drunk?
When I think I was what we call legally intoxicated, yes.
On a number of occasions?
Over 17 years, I would say yes.
And on those occasions, do you recall your behavior?
For the most part, yes.
And on any of those occasions with Nicole when you were drunk, did you hit her?
No.
If you did hit her, would you remember?
Yes.
Do you recall going to see something called Disney on Ice with Nicole in 1987?
Not particularly, no.
And you recall whether you getting into a big fight with Nicole after seeing an ice capades or ice show?
No.
Nothing like that?
No.
Do you recall Nicole taking Sydney and some clothing and leaving the house after seeing an ice show?
No.
Do you recall having a very heated argument with Nicole in Hawaii in 1988 because she let Justin kiss a gay man?
Not particularly for that, but I do recall having a argument with her then, yes.
What was that about?
I don't recall what it was, that portion was about, but I do recall what the argument was about.
What was it about?
She called my father a fag.
And what did you do?
I left.
Did you hit her?
No.
Did this have anything to do with Justin kissing a gay man?
It could have, the conversation subject could have started then, yes.
And you were, well, explain to me how it started.
I don't recall how it started. I just recall that the argument started at a later time when she made a derogatory remark about my father.
Now, did you get upset with Nicole because she permitted a man to hold Justin upon leaving a restaurant and kiss him?
No. But I would have if I'd have saw it. Yes.
You did not hit her on that occasion?
No. No.
Do you recall an incident in which you hit Nicole in the rear of a limo?
I never hit her in a limo.
Okay.
Or any other place for that matter.
I object to the form of these questions. Do you recall, which is a fait accompli that such incident occurred, and
Okay.
I object to those questions.
Was there an occasion when you went with Nicole to a charitable fundraiser at a Rodeo Boulevard nightclub, and in the back of a limousine, returning home to Rockingham, you backhanded her with your hand and hit her in the face?
No.
No such thing occurred?
Never occurred.
And then when you got home to the house, she ran up the stairs and you were lunging and swinging at her?
No.
Do you recall if there was an incident in Malibu at the Red Onion in the summer of 1989 where you, Nicole, Denise, and Julianne Hendricks were having drinks?
No.
Do you know who Julianne Hendricks is?
No.
Okay. You ever been to the Red Onion in Malibu?
No.
You recall having drinks at a restaurant with Nicole and Denise and perhaps others, in which you became loud and unruly and hit Nicole?
No. That never happened.
What about if I were to change it to the Red Onion in Santa Ana, would your answer be the same?
It never happened.
Or any other city, right?
I never hit Nicole in any restaurant or any other city.
Never
no.
slapped her in the face 2 or 3 times on that occasion?
No.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a personal question? Why would he get away with asking that question? Okay.
Do you recall an incident when you got into a heated argument with Nicole for, you don't like the preamble?
I really don't.
Yeah, I'm not trying to trick him. I'm trying to find out
Well,
the
you're trying to...
information. I'll rephrase
Then
it.
just ask him, was there an incident?
Was there an incident when you got upset with Nicole because she had just gone off to Aspen?
No.
And you were upset that Nicole was photographed in Aspen without you?
I wouldn't have known if she was photographed without me.
And you shoved her against the Bentley. Did that occur?
No.
This is in January of 1994. Does that ring a bell?
Nicole, in January of 1994?
Yeah.
Nicole went to Aspen without me?
I'm asking you.
No, it never happened.
Did you go to Aspen with her?
In January of 94? No.
After your divorce from Nicole, did you tell Judy that you loved her and you wanted her back?
No.
You never said that to her?
After our divorce? No.
Yes.
No.
Did you tell Judy that you can't live without her?
No.
Did you ever tell Judy Brown that you could not live without Nicole?
No.
Or words to that effect?
No.
After your divorce, did you ever tell Judy Brown in words or substance that people say I should stay away from her, but I can't. I love her, and I can't let her go?
After our divorce?
Yes, after your divorce.
No. No.
This was in about October of 1992.
No.
After your divorce.
No.
Never said such a thing?
Never said such a thing.
Okay. At any time after your divorce, did you tell Judy Brown that the only woman I want in my life and I can't have is your daughter?
No.
Did you ever tell any of those things to anybody else?
No.
Did you ever go to Aspen in order to find out who Nicole was with?
No.
Did you ever go to Aspen separately from Nicole
Yes.
when Nicole was also in Aspen and so were you?
No.
So you have never been withdrawn. Have you ever been in Aspen at the same time Nicole was, at a time when the two of you were not together?
No.
Did you ever make plans to go to Aspen to find out who she was with?
No.
Okay. And did you knock on the kitchen door or just walked in?
Just walked in.
Did you have a key to that place?
No.
Okay. And when you just walked in, where did you go?
I called upstairs, and then I walked to the backyard.
No one was upstairs?
Maria, I believe, was upstairs.
Maria who?
Housekeeper.
And you know her last name?
Bauer.
She related to Nicole?
Sister-in-law. I mean, cousin-in-law.
She's the wife of Nicole's cousin?
That's right.
Rolf?
Rolf.
R-O-L-F?
Yes.
And when you called upstairs and Nicole wasn't there, what did you then do? Go outside?
Yeah.
What happened when you went outside?
When I walked in the back, I saw Nicole in the bedroom.
In the
A bedroom that was downstairs.
downstairs in the main house?
Yes.
And did you walk into the bedroom?
Yes.
And what did you see in the bedroom?
Keith was giving her a massage,
Were they fully clothed?
fully clothed.
Both
yes.
of them?
Yes.
And what did you then do?
I told Nicole I needed to talk to her.
Did you take her out of the room?
No.
Did you talk to her right there?
Yeah, after Keith left, we talked.
She asked Keith to leave?
Eventually, yes.
Well, what happened during the moment when you got there and Keith was there?
I told her we need to talk about some things.
What did she say?
What?
What did you say?
I told her I didn't want to talk about it in front of him.
You refer to the person as him?
Yes.
Were you introduced to him?
I had met him before.
When?
I don't know, but I had already met him before.
When you came in, did you say hello to him?
Yes.
Shake his hand?
At that time, no.
And did she then ask Keith to leave?
Yes.
And you talked to her then?
Yes.
In the bedroom?
Yes.
What did you and she talk about?
Basically about, I wanted to know how we were going to start handling this with the kids, and I told her that she, has to be a little more careful because I had seen them that night, and that in the future, with the kids there, that she couldn't quite be that way. She agreed with it, and I said, well, how are we going to handle this with the kids? And she said, what? And I said, well, now that we're obviously going to, start seeing other people, the kids still thought we were a girlfriend and boyfriend, a man and wife, and her attitude was it was a mistake. Evidently, they had been drinking and doing some other things, and she said it shouldn't have happened. But my attitude was it did, and obviously now we would start seeing other people, and what was the best way we can handle it with the kids. And she talked about not really having guys stay over in the future, and that would never happen with the kids in the house in the future. And it was just all that type of conversation, and that was it. There was no argument at all.
You could have waited and had that discussion with her at another time, right?
I guess so.
Could have called her on the phone and had it, right?
I guess so.
You could have made an appointment to talk to her also, correct?
Yeah, could have done many things.
But you felt the need to do it then and there, right?
Yes.
So you're saying Nicole fully agreed with your attitude?
Yes.
Did she complain about your coming over unannounced and uninvited?
No, because she did it to me. I did it to her at that period of time. Neither one of us was in a relationship, so it was just something that we both did.
Now, at any time when she was living at Gretna Green, by the way, she lived in Gretna Green after she moved out of Rockingham, right?
Yes.
And that was shortly when after she filed for divorce?
Yes.
And then she lived there from like January, February 92 until the end of 93, correct?
I believe so.
And then she moved into Bundy from January of 94 to June of 94, correct?
That's correct.
And at any time when she lived at Gretna Green, did you ever go over to her place uninvited, unannounced, other than these two occasions?
Well,
All the
I
time.
object, whether he's uninvited.
Well, he
whether-
said he was on these two occasions.
Well,
Well, I think
That's okay.
if I can word it a little differently than you, we had a standard invitation to one another, that I was always welcomed at her house and she was always welcomed at my house. So 2 or 3 times a week I would go to her house and have dinner with her and the kids, and without calling, or vice versa. I knew what time the kids ate, and I'd come over about that time, and some nights she showed up at my house and some nights I showed up at her house.
Did there come a time when this arrangement ended because one or both of you got involved in relationships?
That's correct.
And when did that end?
For me, it ended that night. For her,
What night?
that night of the Keith and her incident, for her, it took a while for it to end.
When you say it ended for you that night, what did you mean, just to be clear?
I didn't come over uninvited after that. I would always call at least when I was on my way. And
Except
if there
you
was a
came over the
problem-
next day, right?
Pardon me?
You came over the next day.
Yes.
But after that, you never came over there again without an invitation, is that right?
Without alerting her that I was coming.
Telling her in advance, right?
Well, calling when I was on my way at least.
Did you ever go at night to the house and stand on the sidewalk and walk back and forth and try to look in and see who was there?
No.
This is either Gretna Green or the condo, because I mean,
Gretna Green.
No.
that's
Did you ever
the
do that
house.
at Bundy?
No.
At any time did you ever go to either Gretna Green or Bundy to see what was happening and who Nicole was with and just sort of check on her whereabouts?
No.
All of the above? I mean,
Yes.
all 3
Any
questions?
of those. Any of those.
What, say them again.